When is the best time to buy real estate? When is the best time for a young man or a young woman, an elderly person, to buy real estate? Hello there, this is Solomon Everest, and you're welcome to the Real Estate Talk Show with Solomon Everest. Today's question is a very common question, and see what my response is. You don't want to miss out on the intricacies of this conversation. Now, let's dive in. Now, the big question, when is the right time or the best time to buy property? Real estate assets, it could be a house, it could be a land, especially for a young person, male, female, and even for the elderly ones, right? We can look at this question from a very straight line of thought. Before I talk about one of the principles of word creation, let's even ask ourselves this. What is the best time for you? When do you think is the best time or the right time for you to own a property? Is it when you're still young, okay? You're in your good morning years. Good morning years define people in the financial life cycle to be people with between the age of 18 to 25 years, right? 18 to 25 years. So at that age, is it the right time to own a property? Yeah, I would say it is. It depends. It depends, right? Now, the good morning age is the age to acquire knowledge. So, people within that age bracket are deeply invested in knowledge acquisition, probably still in school or just finishing up their vocational training. Probably they've gone through what we call the non-educational system of education, learning a trade from somewhere, or probably getting a skill set from one program or the other. So people within this age bracket are really vested into skill acquisition. They're yet to discover themselves, and they're probably trying to find their feet in the market. Now, that is the description for the good morning age. Now, however, with what we have seen with young people finishing school at very early age and then people forced into the labor markets, to fend for themselves, especially considering that a nation like Nigeria has over 60% of their population to be young people, and then at about 45% of that population within the age of 19, right? So we have a strong youthful population, and that alone is driving most young people into adulthood at a very fast pace. So a young man within the age bracket of 18 to 25 years should be in school, probably gathering knowledge and then trying to, find themselves in all of the workables in the economic situation or the economic system of the government and then of the country's or nation's economy. Now, but if you look at it from where it is now, people within the age of 22 who likely have gotten a job for themselves or are into the skill market, they now have a good income or good source of income, which can be termed as cash flow. They now see themselves with disposable cash. So, with that age bracket, I think you're good to go. If you're 22 and above and you have a strong cash flow system, you're good to go with the real estate investment thing, right? Yes, because we now have people within that population that have control over good cash flow. Talking about the entertainment industry, we've seen a lot of young folks who have done very well in that space and are making good cash flow for themselves. So we cannot judge or categorize everybody in a good morning age to be too small to consider investment. But what I think is when you're within that age bracket of 22, which is the midpoint of the good morning age, and then you have a strong cash flow, then you're good to go. With that population too, we have seen an increase in tech, tech savvy people. Yes, you have tech savvy people under the age of 25 that are doing very well for themselves. Probably they started at an early age of their life to maneuver over being junior developers, and probably at 22, 23, 24, 25 they are now senior developers earning good cash flow. So the crop of information here, or the crop of the message here is that when you are mature enough, adult enough, and you have a strong cash flow system, it puts you at the advantage or the positioning to start acquiring properties. Now, when we say acquiring properties, it doesn't really define the high-end properties. We have different categories to the or different classes to the kind of properties you can get. Now, as a young person at the age of 25, 22, you have a strong cash flow of about 5 million naira per annum or 2.5 million naira per annum. Now, take away your cost of rental and then other expenses, daily expenses. You probably could be having at least nothing less than 500,000 savings if you're very prudent and you're very courteous with the use of money, right? Now, with 500,000, that can get you a good land somewhere. Maybe not within the urban, developed areas, but in an emerging city area, you could get land for yourself for 500,000. Like I always tell people, if you find a good location or for a property, even in your village, okay, worth 500,000, please buy that bush, right? So at that age, you could be thinking about buying your first land within the price or budget of 500,000, 1 million, and 1.5. Now, guess what? When I was at that age and point where I had that kind of cash flow, one of the regrets or the biggest regrets that I had today was that I failed to realize the potential of the real estate market at that young age. So it's also one of the reasons why I'm making this video for young folks out there who are in a good morning years and then they have been able to set themselves up with good cash flow. Don't make the mistake of putting your money into systems that are promising you to double your cash or your investment, right? No, that would be a risk, okay, a serious risk that you don't want to take because it's not going to pay. So one of my biggest regrets was when I had that first 1 million. Okay, it's a common thing when people talk about their first 1 million. So my first 1 million, yeah, I was considering real estate, but because I did not understand how important, how relevant, and how strong real estate investment can be, there was no education around young people buying properties at that time. Okay, so my interest was not on real estate. My first choice was not real estate. So it was easy to remove my mind from the thought of buying real estate because I thought real estate investment is for the older people, right? So, and I'm sure that a lot of young people who are in the good morning years of their life and have strong cash flow think too that real estate investment is for the older people, people within the age bracket of, let's say, you can call them the older youth population from 45 years and above or 35 years and above. But that is entirely wrong. Okay, so I think we should start having this education that when you are financially capable and strong, then you have to consider investment. Okay, in investment instruments that work, probably buying shares in companies, buying a federal government bond. Okay, if you have the capacity to do so, or buying, shares from companies, whether in the stock market or from, startup, early stage founder or early stage startup ideas and ideation, right? So because there was no education on real estate investment for me, I think that was also a spot on, it placed me on a spot where I had to take a wrong decision by putting my money in an investment scheme where they had promised to pay me over 10%, right? 10% return on investment on 1 million, that is about 100,000 every month. And that was good thinking. That was good investment for me at the time. So if I'm giving you my 1 million and then you're promising me over 100,000 every month, okay? So what it means is that I am on a steady cash flow of 100,000. But guess what? It earned in tears. Yes. And ever since that time, I've learned my lessons, right? Good enough that I learned on time, but it was a sad story for my first 1 million. Now, for you out there who is young and listening to this, this conversation, I think you also want to think deeply with what you're doing with your first 1 million. In fact, if you are to make any mistake, make the mistake of buying that bush, buying that land, okay, that affordable land within your reach. So with 1 million, you can still get yourself a land, okay. Yeah, in a remote location. Now, guess what? Your thinking now is that of what relevance will the land of 1 million naira be for you because it is probably remote in a developing area or in one area you may term as a village. Okay, time runs faster when you set actions in motion. So let's say if I'd gotten myself a plot of land 10 years ago for 1 million naira, right? You would never believe that 10 years will run so fast. So if I had gotten myself a land for 1 million naira 10 years ago, now in today's market, in today's reality, factoring appreciation in the real estate space, land appreciates by over 10% every year. Yes, 7 to 10% every year. In some locations, it can go as high as 30%. Then there are areas where land appreciates as much as over 200% in 5 years. Yes, 200% in 5 years. So now this is on the minimum. Okay, this is on the minimum. If you value your land that you bought 1 million naira 10 years ago to what it is now, in most scenarios and most of the projects that I've seen and witnessed, okay, you could be getting yourself nothing less than 15 million naira. Now, this is cited based on certain locations and certain trend. Now, in certain locations where land went for about 1 million, there are people selling or there are certain land that are valued at over 30 million naira today, okay, 10 years apart. Now I'm trying to stay on the side of minimalistic valuation, right? Yes, because I've proof of land that sold for about 3 million or thereabout, then in less than 3 years appreciated to 30 million naira. Now there are conditions to why a land will appreciate lesser in a particular location and why it will appreciate higher in a particular location. And that is tied around movement, right? Tied around movement. So if you had gotten yourself a land 10 years ago, now at this time you should be looking at over 15 million naira worth of value of that land. Now I can relate to a particular story in 2005. Yes, in 2005, where somebody bought a half plot of land in a particular location somewhere down east. Half plot of land that is about 350 square meter. Yes, 350 square meter for 1 million naira. Guess what? The land is worth 8 million and it is in a remote location. So you being a young person thinking about, instant wins and instant profit, okay, you may not consider real estate to be your best bet in terms of investment. But I can assure you that real estate is safer, right? It is safer. If you have a strong cash flow and you have 1 million naira out of your earnings and you think you can put that money out, instead of buying into a Ponzi scheme, you're well advised to buy real estate. Buy that remote location. Guess what? Your numbers on the ROI can, do more than what I have just given you. So if you're a young person within that age bracket of 22 to 25 with a strong cash flow, it is the best time and a good time for you to buy real estate. Now, still on the life cycle and answering the question, people within the good afternoon years, which is from 25 years and above, people who fall between the age of 25 to 30 years or 25 to 35 years, you're probably in your own house, you're probably considering marriage, you're probably settled, you're probably in a space where you understand what life is. Now, if you had missed out in investing in your good morning years, do not miss out in your good afternoon years because whatever decision you make within that age bracket of 25 and above to 35 will impact the rest of your years, right? When you begin to talk about the good evening, the good night, and the moonlight years. The right time to buy is when you have a strong cash flow and you have a mature mind. You have a strong cash flow, you have a mature mind, and then you have a system that works for you. So maturity in the sense that you're an adult and you're within the legal age to carry out decisions will impact your life, okay? And then you have a strong cash flow. Now talking about cash flow here, any age bracket that is mature and can, understand finance, okay, there's a triangle, a principle, the word creation that we always make reference to that can guide you into, positioning yourself towards investment and all of that. It is called the wealth triangle. Now, this principle is not limited to age, but like I always say, I'm always referencing the adult age in any of the countries of the world. If you put up this principle, it can also guide you to answer the question when it is right for you to start buying real estate. The world triangle is about the a three-side triangular shape, which begins with what we call the profitable skill set. When you develop a profitable skill set, and whatever age that you are, whatever adult age that you are, you're setting yourself up for wealth creation, and you're setting yourself on a trajectory that leads you to answer the question of when you can start investing in real estate. So if you have a profitable skill set that pays you, and the money is enough to make savings that can yield you spare cash of over 500,000, 1 million naira, 2 million naira, 5 million, and so on. After all of your expenses and your taxes and all of that, then you're good to go. So, from the point of profitable skill sets, getting a profitable skill set, we're now talking about the second side of the triangle, which is to scalable business, starting up a scalable business. So let's say you've been able to achieve one thing, education, and then skill set, talent development, and all of that. When you scale into a business, or when you scale based on expansion, okay, it puts you on a path for more profit, right? Let's say you know how to cut hair, and you've been able to build a profitable haircut business, or barbing salon as it's called. Okay. Now, when you're talking about the scalable side of the world triangle, if you're able to multiply that or expand your reach as regards to your workforce, which in itself has a tendency of increasing your cash flow, okay, it puts you in a position too for a full pause. And when you have a full pause, you have spare cash. When you have spare cash, you have disposable cash that you can put or fit into real estate. And then we're not talking about the third side of the triangle, which is the base, and that has to do with investment. So when you build a profitable skill set and you expand, you scale into a business, you have something that pays you, and you've been able to scale it either on your returns or your cash flow, then you are comfortably putting yourself in the base of the triangle, which is all about investment. And in that point, you can put your money into investments, okay, that can give you 10% per annum. So real estate fits into that. When you buy stocks too, it fits into that. When you invest in other people's businesses, where you can either get shares or you get a stake, it also puts you in that position. So if you harness the power of education around the world triangle, it can also help you to answer the question when you can start buying into real estate. So a man with a cash flow and a secured future and disposable income can start buying real estate. So if you have a strong cash flow, you're within a mature age, you've been able to build something that works for you, where you can afford to spare money, then you are good to go into real estate investment. Now, another part of that question is, what type of real estate investment should you look into? Now, at a younger stage, at a certain cash flow, okay, there is a limit to what you can do or buy in the market. So if your cash flow is less than 5 million per year, you cannot be thinking about buying properties in highbrow areas, right? Yes, because when you consider buying properties in highbrow areas, your income will not be able to catch up, because in the highbrow, very invested part of a city center, you have properties worth, hundreds of millions and then billions. Now, that can be discouraging. So, but your attention can be positioned around areas where you can take advantage of with your cash flow. So if I have a cash flow of less than, or let's say an annual income of less than 5 million, so I want to start thinking about buying land in areas that are termed or designated to be developing areas. Now, what you can do, the strategy that investors use is to consider land banking. You go to a part of the city where you can buy multiple plots of land for less. Okay. For example, there are areas in Nigeria now that are hot selling that we all know. Talk about Lagos, talk about the new Lagos, talk about Ekpe. Okay. Now, why are investors going to Ekpe? This is where they have seen an opportunity to buy properties, okay, more properties for less, right? Now they hold on to that to sell in the future and make good returns. So what investors do is that they go into these areas, even investors with the money bag. Yes, investors with the money bag because they understand the numbers and understand how helpful it can be. They do land banking, buy areas that are still developing, and then wait for it to appreciate. And when it does, you can do what? You can start selling. Now, if you're planning on buying a property within a highbrow area, a example of a client who bought about 3 plots of land somewhere in the Lekki Ekpe axis of Lagos for 6 million per plot. Yes, so 6 times 3 gives you about 18, right? Good. Now, this client sold the three when it appreciated to 15 million 3 years later, or less than 3 years later. Now, the 3 plots on 15 million gives you about 45 million. Now, with 45 million naira, this client has been able to buy a property in a highbrow part of the Lekki Ekpe axis. So, if you put the same principle anywhere, it works the same way. Okay, land in developing area tend to appreciate more because the more people demand for those land, the more it tends to appreciate. The more there is government activity there, okay, government centered project, and the more people go in there to do development, the more people move into those areas, the more the property is valued. So it comes to the terms that people follow the money. Okay, so you have to spot on. It's not something you do. It's not something you play around. You have to be very intentional about spotting a location that has the potential to multiply, that has the potential to increase in value. Okay, so that is another interesting part of the conversation. Where to buy? Okay, yes. So if you buy right, if you buy right and you do your land banking right, you will be able to increase your returns, and then you can approach other markets. Now, this is what we've done for people. This is what we've helped people achieve. Okay, so I can tell you for a fact that it works. As a young person, as an adult, your good morning age or years, good afternoon, good evening, and even people moving towards retirement, right? You're moving towards retirement. Now, that is the age where you're considering buying a property that will make sense to you and then to your children, to your generation, right? So, if you're moving towards retirement, the kind of properties you'll be looking forward to will probably be a home where you can have your own home for retirement. Okay, some people actually plan for retirement before they do. So before they get to the retirement age, they've already built themselves probably a home, okay, for retirement. Now, who says those on retirement cannot do land banking? Yes, you can. So at any age, there is something for you. Before you get to your retirement age, it's important that you've secured yourself real estate assets where you can plan for a retirement home or your country home and all of that. So that kind of planning, okay, puts you at the point where you are not, you're not limited in terms of economic situations, and you're not tied around, the hardship around rentals, okay, trying to meet up with rent or trying to go to a spot or a place where you're not comfortable with because you don't have the means to sustain a good life. So if you put it into intentionality, you can start planning your retirement by looking out for investments or real estate assets you can buy that will help you, okay, either for appreciation to resell or other for a place where you can build a home. So at all age bracket of the financial life cycle, from your good morning years to the good evening years, there is a spot for you in the real estate investment game. So the real estate investment game is for all mature minds with strong cash flow. So I believe this has answered that question. Yes, it's a very interesting question. The way you have another thing to look out for too is the way you go about these things. In today's market, we have smarter developers, we have people who have more understanding on how real estate works. So you could put yourself on a plan. Okay. Yes, we have developers who help people, with the plan of a payment plan, which we call the PSS plan, pay small, small plan. You can start paying for your dream property, right? Yes, it works like a mortgage, but tied around the private sector where you can buy a property and then you spread your payment, okay, for a longer period of time. Now, that is another strategy that a lot of people use in today's market to secure themselves a property. So let's say you are getting to your retirement, right? And the next you have 3 years to retirement or 5 years to retirement. You can actually get yourself an asset where you are allowed to pay small, small over time with interest, and then after the expiration or the completion of your payment, you get access to your property. Okay, so all of these has terms and conditions applied. Yeah, and also let's say at the working age, you're within the working age of 35 to 55 years. Yes, it's very important that you're putting your money in real estate because at the point where you're getting to retirement, a lot of things will play out. The land you bought, let's say 15 years to retirement, will be worth much more. Okay? Much more. So you have a strength point to negotiate how you want to retire. So let's say if I'm retiring the next 15 years, and the next 15 years I'll be, let's say 65, okay, in this instance, and I start buying land for land banking now. Now, on my retirement, the property bought at a price of 2 million naira or 1.5 million naira or 5 million naira will not be worth 5 million naira. It will be worth so much more. Now, because you know that you're working with a game of time and multiplier effect, you know you're setting your future up to win because at retirement you have an asset that you paid for less, okay, and now it has appreciated. So at that point you can sell, you can take a decision whether by sales or by lease, a decision that will help you, build a comfortable retirement lifestyle. You can start buying property. It's not too late to buy. Yes, it's not too late to buy, and it's not too early to buy if you have crossed the adult age and you have a good cash flow system. What do you think? Now, if you're thinking what I'm thinking, it means you have answered yourself correctly. So this is the right time to buy if you have the adult age and you have a good cash flow to sustain payment for an asset. Now you mustn't go big. You can start from small and begin to build your confidence, right? Now if you're young, you're not too young. Once you have the cash flow and you're of adult age, I say it again, you're not too young to buy a property. Once you're adult age and you have a strong cash flow system, this is the best time to buy. Less pressure. Now, instead of putting the money on vanity, instead of putting the money on things that will blow out, okay, put your money on real estate investment and it will pay you. So don't make the mistake I made when I had my first 1 million. Because each time I think about the value in today's market, what the property, purchase property of a 1 million naira would have done for me, okay, yes, it made me go cuckoo, right? So you don't want to make that kind of mistake. Your mistake should be you putting your money in that real estate asset, even if it's in your village. Yes, even if it's in your village. I know a lot of people who have been far in touch with what's going on. See, they're not making lands anymore, right? They're not making lands anymore. Yes, so when you have land to yourself, you have an authority. You're giving yourself authority because land gives authority. If you have no land, if you have no place to call yours, okay, if you have no place to work with, then you are the disadvantage and the mercy of others. If you want to call the shots, then you should have your own property where you can do so. To answer the other question, if children or kids are left out in real estate investment or real estate purchase, now truly nobody is left out. It all depends on your scenario. Now let's look at a scenario where you you come from a family that is well-to-do, okay, a family middle class, wealthy class, and you as a kid, let's say you are 10, okay, 5, in fact, 1 year, 1 year old, right? Yes, children are not left out in real estate investment because when they have parents who understand how, cash flow works, how investment works, how the world works in terms of economy, and then positioning, right? The same way parents open up accounts for their children and say, oh, this is for your schooling, they begin to put savings up for their children's education, even when they are still kids. I think I learned this from an uncle of mine who worked in the bank, where people work in the bank or the wealthy class, open up account numbers for their kids, right? So it's a thing. And that is because they want to have a savings account where they can always put money into, fund the account from their own cash flow, right? To better the future of their children. We've also seen scenarios where the rich or the wealthy class who understands how investment works set up trust or they take advantage of their knowledge in finance and investment, and they set up a trust where the trust handles certain investment that can give cash flow to their children and even their children unborn, right? So what that does is you buy a plot of land for your kid who is just a year old today 2023, right? When it gets to 20, what do you think would have happened? Or when the kid gets to 25 or even 30? So you buy a land today, which you know it's not for you, it's not for your immediate gain or immediate cash flow, immediate returns. Now, 30 years appreciation on that property will go a long way. Now, this is what people are currently doing. Okay, the first part of the question was for adults, right? Now, we're talking about opportunities that families, parents can create for their children. Yes, so if you have a young child and you have the means or children, if you have the means, you can start now to buy real estate in their names, right? Now, this is what we're doing, and this is what people are doing. Okay. So, for an example, at Landis, we have a real estate asset that we have designated where parents can buy land for their kids for less than 2 million naira. You can buy an acre, you can buy half acre, okay? Yes, at a discounted rate. Now, imagine such a deal buying 6 plot of land that should worth for more for less now, okay? And then in the next 30 years, in the next 20 years, in the next 18 years, it amounts to so much more. Now, you're talking about education to your children. You can sell. If you do land banking on them, you can sell their plot. You can decide to sell a part of it to fund the education and then leave the rest for them. Now, I've seen a couple of people who buy properties in the name of their children and then they register it to a company that takes care of the returns. So at an adult stage, the child can enjoy the benefits, the dividends that comes from this asset. Some even go as far as buying apartments, right? They buy apartments, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom apartments that is on rental, okay? And it fund the plan is to fund the lifestyle of their children. Now, these are smart moves, okay? Smart moves, smart investors move. And the whole idea is that you're trying to position yourself, your family, your children for okay a better movement in the society. Now think about it. If somebody had kept a land in your name when you were probably 1 year old, and now you're 35 or 40, there's so much value 40 years of our earthly time can do to any business or any asset that is solid and that is not volatile, right? So if you're 40 now and probably you have land somewhere, that will amount to so much more. Whatever you choose to eat has so much value to offer you. Whether you choose to do joint venture, lease, rental, or resale, now that's a whole lot of value such cash flow can do for your future, right? Yes, so children are not left out. Yes, so anybody can actually own real estate assets. Anybody can actually own. If you're not at the age where you can take that decision or make an effort towards that, you're probably under someone who has the capacity to do so. So why not if you have the capacity? Why not if your parents have the capacity? And to parents out there, if you have the means, please, this is the right time to secure a good real estate investment for your children. Yes, so in the same way as opening a savings account for them or for their education. Yes, so real estate can also be banked on. The same way you have savings account, you can also have a land bank, right? You bank on land, and that is why it is called land banking. So you bank on it. When they are of adult age, they can choose to make use of this investment, yes, to better their lifestyle or to better their future. So I can go on and on to express testimonies or real life scenarios where these happen. Now it happened to me, right? Yes, I still remember very well that one of the assets that my father was able to secure in the 80s for, was it about, I think about 30,000. A 30,000 naira worth of land is worth over 10 million today. And it's in a very remote location. And that is the value for the half plot. Yes, because, yeah, at a point, half was sold and the other half is still there, right? For 30,000 and it is worth 10 million naira. Yes, and that is like the minimum valuation for that asset. So imagine if you have somebody who had gotten plots of land for you in the 80s at 30,000, at 40,000, 50,000, and then to this point, right? What do you think might have happened? Now that is so much money, so much value, so much cash flow to better your life. So when we say buying real estate, we're not just telling you because we want to sell. No, it's also a good recommendation, a good advice, right? Yes. So real estate is very important. Real estate is very powerful. Real estate has been changing lives. Ask around. You can talk to people around you. If you have no experience, you can make inquiries on your own. You can also inquire from those who have left real estate assets for you. Yes, I know we're in an age where people want to just consume what they have, but remember what you're eating today, the benefits of what you're probably enjoying today came from somewhere. Okay, you probably have inherited something, or you probably are working on something that also was instituted by somebody. So someone has to do something that others will benefit from. So to answer your question in general and to add this to my answer, okay, anybody within the good morning age, working adult age that has a good cash flow system that can sustain their lifestyle, their expenses, and gives them disposable cash can buy real estate. Anybody who is a ward or who is under their parents or a care provider that has the means, the wealth, the capacity can also get real estate. So kids can own real estate assets. Kids from 1 year and above can own their own assets courtesy of their parents, right? So if you have the means, why not? If not, right? So think deeply about this conversation. Yes, think deeply about this conversation, and you'll see for sure that there's a truth in it. You can own real estate. Like they say, the best time to buy real estate was yesterday, okay, and the next best time is today, right? Okay, so I hope you found value in this conversation or today's episode on what age can someone buy real estate, or at what age can a person, young or old, buy properties, right? So I believe you have your answers now. You can leave a comment about what you think of this episode or today's video, and if you have other questions or conversations you'd like us to have in this channel as regards to real estate investment, you can do so. Just leave a comment. Yes, so if you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Yes, so tell your friend to tell a friend about the conversation and the value that we're having here. This is Solomon Everest, and I'm always glad and happy to have this conversation with you. Let's work with this. I wish you all the best. Until the next time. Bye.